Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So today we are reading Canto 1, Chapter 11, and text 32. Thank you very much for joining. And let us start. Narayana namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasa tato jaya mudiraye shunvatam swakatha Krishna punya shravana kirtana radyantasto hi abhadrani vidanoti srohat satam nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistaki. So I will read this shloka. We are reading the Krishna's, Lord Krishna's entrance into Dwarika. Tamatmaja drashtibhiran antaratmana duranta bhava parire bire patim niruddhamapi ashtravad ambunetrayor virlajyatinam bhraguvarya vaiklavat tamatmaja drashtibhirantaratmana duranta bhava parire bire patim nirodhampi ashtravad ambunetrayor virlajyatinam bhraguvarya vaiklavat tamatmaja drashtibhir antaratmana duranta bhava parire bire patim nirodhamma piya ashtravad ambunetrayor virlajyatina bhraguvarya vaiklavat. Please recite.
Tamatmajair drishtibir antaratmana duranta bhava parire bhire patim niruddham apyashravadambu netrayor vilajyatinam bhriguvarya vaiklavat.
Tamatmajay distribir antaratmana duranta bhava parire vire patim niruddhamapyarshava ambunitrair vilajyatinam bhruguvarya vaiklavat.
Hare Krishna. Tamatmaje drashtibhirantaratmana duranta bhavaha parire bhire patim niruddhamapyastravadam bunetrayo virlajyatinam bhruguvarya vaiklavat. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Tamatmajair drishtibhir antaratmana duranta bhava parire bire patim niruddham apya ashavad ambunetrayor vilajyatinam bhriguvarya vaiklavat.
Tam atmajay drishtibhir antaratmana duranta bhava parire bhire patim niruddham api ashravat ambunetrayor vilajyatinam bhriguvarya vaiklavat.
Anyone else? Okay, so let us read word to word translation. Tam, him, the Lord. Atmajay, by the sons. Drashtibhihi, by the sight. Antaratmana, by the topmost part of the heart. Duranta bhavaha, insuperable ecstasy. Parire bhire, embraced. Patim, husbands. Niruddham, choked up. Api, in spite of. Ashravat, tears. Ambu, like drops of water. Netrayoho, from the eyes. Virlajjatina, of those situated in shyness. Braghuvarya, O chief of Braghus, Veklavat, inadvertently. The insuperable ecstasy was so strong that the queens who were shy first embraced the Lord in the innermost recesses of their hearts. Then they embraced him visually, and then they sent their sons to embrace him, which is equal to personally embracing. But, O chief amongst the Braghus, though they tried to restrain their feelings, they inadvertently shed tears. Purport. Although, due to feminine shyness, there were many hindrances to embracing the dear husband, Lord Krishna. The queens performed that act by seeing him, by putting him in the course of their hearts, and by sending their sons to embrace him. Still, the act remained unfinished, and tears rolled down their cheeks despite all endeavors to check them. One indirectly embraces the husband by sending the son to embrace him because the son is developed as part of mother's body. The embrace of the son is not exactly the embrace of the husband and wife from sexual point of view, but the embrace is satisfaction from affectionate point of view. The embrace of the eyes is more effective in conjugal relationship, and thus, according to Jiva Goswami, there is nothing wrong in such exchange of feeling between husband and wife. Om Gyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruvai Namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prashabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunnavadi Paschatya Desha Dharine. So thank you very much for joining this morning. Hare Krishna. And before I speak few words on this important section of Lord Krishna's entrance to the Dwarka, and this verse particularly shows how the queens affectionately welcomed their husband, Lord Krishna, to their palaces. And it's a very nice description by Srila Prabhupada. So first, before I speak, I would like to get blessings of all the Vaishnavas present here, so I can speak some words and purify myself. So Prabhupada is writing the insuperable ecstasy. So what is the meaning of insuperable? The word, Sanskrit word Prabhupada used is Prabhupada translated is Duranta Bhava. So in the dictionary, if you see, it says insuperable, it's an insuperable barrier. And it's a Latin word, which is meaning is unsupportable. Super means above. So incapable of bearing separation. So that's insuperable or unsupportable. Super means above. And above, like how to overcome this. When Krishna entered the palace, their palaces actually, they were all very happy, So, and they were incapable of having separation from him even for a second. So in the yesterday, you see Sheshapati Govinda Prabhu, actually yesterday, he explained, how the queens got up right away, without losing even 1 second from their seat, and they tried to welcome Krishna. So this is from actually verse number 30 to 35. These 6 shlokas actually describe the dealings with the queens, how Krishna was dealing with his queens, So actually he came to the palaces after visiting his parents, father and mother, Vasudeva and the Devaki. So all the mothers, when he went to the palace of Vasudeva ji, so all the mothers actually embraced Krishna there, and they offered, and Krishna offered obeisances to the parents, showed the proper etiquette, although he is the Supreme Lord, but still, because he was doing the human leela, so he has to show the world, how the parents should be respected properly. So he was offering obeisances to all of them, all the stepmothers and his own mother and his father, everybody. And in the great delight, actually, the milk was flowing in the breast of all the mothers, not just his mother Devaki, although Krishna was very big at that time, in the age, his was not like that age, like 1 or 2 year old, when the child, drinks milk from the mother's breast, but still the milk came in the breast and it was flowing. And they took Krishna in their lap, actually, so we can see, and their eyes were also moist, in the happiness. So we can see how they were happy. All the mothers were happy seeing Krishna, because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they didn't know that he's Supreme Personality of Godhead, but still they had so much love for Krishna. So this is their greatness, actually. And so in the last shloka, yesterday we discussed that Krishna rejoiced, actually, to see the Lord. All the queens actually became very happy when they saw their husband Krishna after a long time. They got up at once from their seat and they shyly covered their faces. So this is the description yesterday, and today, Srila Prabhupada is writing that they were too shy to embrace Lord Krishna directly. So what they did, actually, they embraced him firstly within their heart. So in the inner chamber of the heart. So it's like heart to heart transfer, of the love, exchange of love, actually, between that. And then they visually actually saw each other, actually give the respect, embrace visually. How to embrace visually, actually, like they were not looking even directly to the Krishna, but they were seeing him from the side glances. So, and then they sent their son to that Krishna embraced their son, because the son is developed in the womb, is a part of the body of the mother, actually. So indirectly, when Krishna embraces his son, that means he's embracing the son's mother, so it's Krishna's wife, all the queens, so they were embraced like that indirectly, because son is developed as a part of mother's body, as Prabhupada writing in the purport. So these 3 methods, Krishna, the queens used actually to embrace Lord Krishna, because and then Prabhupada is writing at the end of the purport that although they were trying to restrain their feelings, because there was so much feeling of happiness in the heart of all the queens, that the tears were automatically coming. They were trying, all the queens tried to restrain the tears, but they were coming out, and they shed the tears of happiness that time. So actually, we were reading last chapter, chapter number 10, that, and in the text number 28 to 30 in last chapter, the ladies, when Krishna was leaving the Hastinapur, so when he was leaving, so on the roofs of the roofs of their houses, the ladies of the Hastinapur actually were discussing that how fortunate are the queens of Lord Krishna actually, that he intimately associated with them, they see them all the time, so they are so lucky. And now at the end of this chapter, 11th chapter, now we are seeing the glimpse of dealing of Lord Krishna with his queens actually. So just after leaving the house of his father, then he wanted to go to house of all the queens. So immediately, simultaneously, also he developed, like he make his body, like in so many like forms, 16,108 forms. So in each house, Krishna went himself. It's not like, oh, he goes to one house and then he comes out and goes to other house. It's not like that. Simultaneously, he can make as many parts of himself, expand himself in so many different Krishnas, so many forms he can make, but we can see, that this doesn't limit that, okay, he had so many wives, so he can make only these forms, And many people ask actually sometime, Srila Prabhupada, that Krishna married so many wives, So Prabhupada was saying that this is nothing actually for Krishna. Krishna can make 16,000 million forms also, and he can marry that many wives also. But because we cannot limit Krishna is unlimited actually, so we cannot limit him, that he can marry only this much. Like even the mystic people, they can make their forms 8 or 10 forms of them, like they can expand into these forms, but Krishna can expand in millions and billions of forms, So Krishna is unlimited, his glories are unlimited, his powers are unlimited. And in this shloka, we are seeing that in the description that all the queens actually will not like to delay even 1 second. And they mentally and physically tried to see him. But due to their shyness, they looked their husbands with sidelong glances. They were looking from the side of the eyes. Thus, they were expressing actually their eagerness to see Krishna and their blissfulness. They were so happy. So actually, we should see that Krishna is extraordinarily powerful actually, and his dealings are not ordinary dealings of human being. We can see that how no human being can perform this kind of leelas. Like in one palace with one queen, he's doing this thing. Like Narad Muni saw him in different doing different activities in each palace. He went from one palace to other palace, and the saw Lord Krishna. So this is extraordinary power of Lord Krishna. So Prabhupada is writing there, one should not therefore become astonished to learn Krishna married so many wives. On the contrary, he can marry many millions of wives, and still his power doesn't diminish at all. So that's why Lord is always great in all respect actually, and that is the eternal truth. So in Bhagavad Gita also, like here in this shloka, actually we read how by different way, by looking and by seeing within the heart, they were embracing Krishna. So similarly, Prabhupada is writing in Bhagavad Gita, 5-point purport of the 5th chapter and 26th verse. In the purport, Prabhupada is writing, by vision, by meditation, and by touch only do the fish, the tortoise, and the birds maintain their offsprings. Similarly, do I also. So the fish, actually, we can see the fish, and that how simply by looking at their offsprings, they raise the kids like that, because they then cannot touch her, and they don't have any hands, they don't have any feet. So they just look at their offspring, and they brought up their offsprings like that. Similarly, we can see the tortoise brings up its offspring simply by meditation, because we know that tortoise actually lays his eggs on the ground, and tortoise is in the water, is meditating from there about the eggs, what he lay on the ground, and that way the eggs hatch actually. So just by simply meditation, the eggs are tortoise laid on the land, and tortoise meditates on the egg while in the water. So similarly, Prabhupada is writing that devotees in Krishna consciousness, although we are far away from Lord Krishna, from Golok Vrindavan, but Lord is also in the present in the Paramatma form in our heart. But if we meditate Lord constantly in our heart, then we can definitely go to him, to the Golok Vrindavan actually. So that is by engagement in Krishna consciousness. When we are do not feel, at that time, when we meditate constantly about Krishna, then we will not feel the constant miseries in this material world, because in this material world there are so many miseries. So this is stage of life, when we meditate constantly on Krishna, is known as Brahma Nirvana, or absent of the miseries of this material world. And that way we can constantly immerse in the meditation of Lord Krishna. So actually there are so many different things in this wonderful verse, like so many instructions actually. This verse is teaching us, that first thing is etiquette, how the husband-wife should actually meet after long separation. So here we are seeing how the queens, they are giving direct example, how wife and husband should actually meet after long separation. And another thing, it is showing that how the queens or lady of the house should welcome their husband. So this thing also we learn from this verse. And the other thing we can see that how the queens actually embrace the Lord in their heart, and then they embraced by the vision, by seeing the Lord distantly. Actually, queens actually did not rush to Krishna to embrace him, but they were just doing it simultaneously from the heart and from the vision. And after that, they sent their son to be embraced by Lord Krishna. So this is indirect embracing to themselves actually. So Krishna is embracing to them also, because son is the part of Krishna, to the mother actually, not Krishna. So, and at the end, we read that the tears came out from their eyes actually. They roll down in their cheeks, So these tears are, sometimes the tears comes because we are crying, we are in great trouble, and we are crying, then tear comes. Sometimes tears comes also out of happiness, many times we get so happy, and that way the tears also comes, So all the queens, were so happy to see Krishna after so long time. And so when we embrace, this is the deepest part. They were embracing from the deepest part of their heart. All the queens were embracing Krishna by their heart actually. And then they embraced by their eyes or by their vision. Because normally, when we embrace by our arms and forearms. But here we see the queens were embracing Krishna by their vision, by their eyes. So actually these are the secret and esoteric way, and they are very subtle actually. But this is the dealing of Krishna and queens, in the different rasas. And these different rasas actually increase the ecstasy of how was the dealing between queens and Krishna. And even sending the son, it was equally satisfying actually like directly embracing their husband, Lord Krishna. So if you compare this embracing to the modern world, what happens when a husband comes, in front of so many people, the wife will run to the husband, embrace him. They will try to kiss on the cheeks and lips and everything, in front of everybody. So there is no shyness. That's why we will discuss today a little bit about shyness, because shyness is very important part of, it's a very important character of the female character. Actually, the shyness should be there. This is like a ornament, a abhushan for the feminine gender, because there should be shyness. Otherwise, if they are frank and doing everything like that, nowadays people think the shyness is weakness, but it's actually not a weakness, but this is good character. A mother should have shyness, every lady should have shyness. Like other shyness in the Sanskrit word, we can say lajja. So, and the opposite of that is nirlajja. Nirlajja means they don't have any shyness, they can do anything in front of anybody, and most of the modern world is geared towards those things now. And also the queens were completely choked up, they get in the happiness that they could not even utter a single word. Their love and their emotion all being done by their heart and by their vision. And they were holding all together, all their emotions, they're holding them very tight, they were not expressing that. But Krishna can understand by their behavior that how the queens were happy. And all the queens were actually fully saturated in ecstasy. And they were self-contained. They were very happy from inside. And one can see that just by seeing the tears in their eyes, one can imagine, how happy they are. So they were expressing actually through their eyes in the form of tears. So all these activities of the queens were on the transcendental platform. Actually, it was not ordinary activities, and it shows actually how Krishna relates to his queens and how close relationship he has with all his queens. And all the queens actually were loving Krishna so much, that we cannot even imagine, that was, because in the modern world, we can see, how much is the love, it's all bodily love. And if it is, you are not listening to me, then forget it, I'm going my way, you go your way, and they take the divorce, so this is the way now the couples, they love each other, but that should not the way actually, because Lord Krishna and queens, we can see and learn from them that what is the proper way to behave, how the husband and wife should behave. In this material world, actually, there is no substance. It's all false promises, husband promise, oh yeah, I will do this for you and I love you so much, there is no actual love. But in spiritual world, actually, there is a real substance. There is no false promise, nobody, Krishna was not telling anything and queens were not telling anything. They were just exchanging love through their heart, through their eyes, So this is the we can see that this is the glimpse of their behavior of the queens actually. So actually this material world is just like a chaya, the shadow of a spiritual world. So everything in this material world is upside down actually. So the tree's roots are up, and the leaves and the fruits are all down. So it's upside down. So in the Bhagavad Gita, actually in the 15th chapter, the first verse of the 15th chapter, Urdhavulam Ada Shakham Atham Prahuravyayam Chandasi Yasha Parnani Yasham Deveda Savedavid. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upward and branches down, and whose leaves are Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. So this material world actually is completely upside down. So we do all the things, in a different way. So we are all actually looking for the happiness or the satisfaction in this material world. But actual happiness is not in this material world. Actual happiness in a special world in relation to Krishna. If we are in contact with Krishna, meditating on him, thinking about Krishna all the time, then we will be definitely completely satisfied. Otherwise, we will not be happy at all in this material world if we are not thinking about Krishna. And we can see the example of all the queens of Dwarika, that how satisfied they were. Just by glancing Krishna, they were feeling so much happiness. So actually, our relationship with Krishna is the real thing in this material world. Otherwise, there are so many different things in this material world, and we do so many activities, but activities related to Krishna are most important activities. And therefore, actually, our everything and every activity should be performed in relationship with the Krishna, because Lord Krishna is absolute, and Krishna is the center of our existence of everything in this material world and spiritual world. Krishna is the cause. He is the cause of all causes. So, and when Krishna is satisfied, everything in this world is satisfied. Like we can see by example of, like when Durvasa Muni visited Pandavas, in the forest, and they said, okay, we are going to take bath in the river and coming back to eat. And Durvasa Muni had 60,000 his disciples with him, so many people to arrange, and the Yudhishthira Maharaj told Draupadi, cook something, for so many people. And at that time, he had Akshay Patra, but Akshay Patra was all, she ate everything from Akshay Patra, cleaned Akshay Patra. So there was nothing, she can do at that time, because it can cook only one time. So what happens then? She remembers Krishna, and Krishna comes right away. And he said, give me the Akshay Patra. And Krishna sees one small piece of rice, sitting there. And he took that, he put it in the mouth, and he got satisfied. Once Krishna satisfied, all Durvasa Muni and all his disciples, they all got so much satisfied. Their all hunger went away, and they felt so much belching and everything that they ate up to their neck. So then they even didn't show up their face, that what we will go there and what we will eat there. We cannot eat. And Maharaj Yudhishthira must have made a big feast for all of us. So we can imagine, how Krishna's satisfaction is important, because once Krishna is satisfied, everyone is satisfied. So once we realize that Lord Krishna is center and not me, then our false ego will go away completely. Because all the time we put I and me in front of everything, that I should be glorified, I should have this, I should have this. So this is the problem actually. Me all the time, I. So that should go away from our life, I and me. Then actually we can see that Krishna is the center. Then we can do our activities accordingly, what Krishna wants us to do, and we keep Krishna in the center of all our activities. Then no frustration of this world will bother us at all. So we must turn towards Krishna in all the activities. Then we will get ecstasy actually in all our activities, and we can remember Krishna that way. So we should develop our life. So what is the goal of our life? Actually, our goal of life is to develop love for Krishna by all our activities. Then our life will be successful. Otherwise, it will be big big burden actually, our life will be burden on ourselves, because without Krishna consciousness, there is nothing in this world actually, because that is the main thing. Once we understand that thing, and act towards that goal, to get love of Krishna, then our whole life will be sublime. So now I will just discuss few minutes about the chastity and shyness. So actually, what is the chastity? What it exactly means? Because we in this material world, actually, we have very shallow and very superficial understanding of this most important quality. Because in this material world, we see that no women actually aspire for the chastity. They even do not know what is chastity. So they do not care about it at all. That's why this word chastity is completely forgotten, completely lost. Nobody even remembers that word. So what is chastity actually, and how we can cultivate the chastity? So chastity has two components actually. One component is tolerance, another component is shyness. And the shyness is exhibited in this shloka by all the queens, how shy they were and how they were showing affection in the shyness to Lord Krishna. And so it has two parts, tolerance and shyness. So tolerance actually, everybody, male, female, doesn't matter, everybody should have. If the woman is not tolerant, then what will happen? She, like in modern world, we can see that they demand so many things, they complain so many things. Oh, there's so much work here in this my house and all those things, and they complain about every small thing actually. And sometimes, if you don't listen to them, they answer back to you, they get disturbed. Even by the slightest provocation, little bit provocation comes, or little inconvenience comes, they get agitated, they actually answer back and they make big show. And if husband is not supporting her, then what happens? Even with a small provocation, they will just run away from the house, they will give divorce to the husband. So this is the modern world actually. But this tolerance actually is very important quality for the spiritual strength. We have to have tolerance, otherwise we will not be spiritually strong. And actually by tolerance, we can measure the advancement and our spiritual strength, that how much we can tolerate. So tolerance is very important, because by tolerance, actually, our false ego is subdued and it gets lower and lower. Otherwise, false ego, once we have false ego, what do you think about me? What? So all these things comes up, So we can see the example of Prahlad Maharaj, Haridas Thakur, how much Prahlad Maharaj tolerated, all the abuses by his father. He was thrown from the mountain, he was thrown in the pit of the snakes, in front of the lions and all those things, But still he tolerated and never said a single word bad about his father. Similarly, we can see Haridas Thakur, the king told him, that, okay, don't chant anymore. And he said, no, I cannot stop saying Hare Krishna or chanting Hare Krishna. So he was beaten up in 22 marketplaces, So this is the tolerance we can see by this great example. Also, we can see tolerance by example of the Mother Devhuti. Actually, her husband was Kardam Muni, and Devhuti was princess, and Kardam Muni was living in the forest under the trees, So she tolerated all those things. There was no beddings and nothing, no house, but still she served Kapil Muni very sincerely. She got so lean and thin. But we can see when we read the Bhagavatam that how she received the rewards, that she was given great opulence in the flying mansion, which Kardam Muni created by his mystic powers. And ultimately, she became mother of Kapil Dev, who is the incarnation of Lord Krishna. So she was rewarded of her all the tolerance, and what she did so we can see, that tolerance is very wonderful quality. So how we can cultivate the tolerance, actually called tolerance, we can bring from our humility and our firm faith in Lord Krishna. So if we have firm faith in Krishna and we are humble and we have nice humility, then actually we can cultivate tolerance very easily. But in this material world, actually, we can see that tolerance is not given any credit at all. And it is seen as a weakness of the human being. If you tolerate somebody, then he will keep abusing you. So that's why people in this material world, we all the time hear, that I'm not going to tolerate this. Who do you think I am? Or sometimes they say, how long should I tolerate this nonsense? So, but actually tolerance is considered to be a sign of strength. Within the spiritual life, actually, where values are diametrically opposite from the material world. Because to perform tapasya, it is great spiritual progress. By performing tapasya, we can get a lot of spiritual progress. Like we can see Dhruv Maharaj and Lord Brahma and Prachetas, they actually tolerated so many inconveniences, but ultimately they received the mercy of Lord. So for a woman, actually, their field of tapasya is within their marriage and family life. So their field is to engage in tapasya and cultivating the tolerance. So if women or men, anyone who actually practices this tolerance, actually they become very spiritually very strong and very powerful. So actually people may ask, what is the meaning of shyness? Shyness means to resist the temptation of enjoying the effect of one's powerful feminine energy. Even at the most subtle level, actually, we can see that. So woman, it means that woman resists the temptation to show up, because many times, and this is the shyness actually. So we can see in Prabhupada in the purport, writing down about the shyness. Prabhupada is writing, once this control valve is loosened, woman can create havoc in the society. This is what is going on in the modern days. Any woman can bewilder any man if she tries hard enough. She is power of feminine energy. Therefore, it has to be controlled through the shyness. Today, women as a rule have lost this quality, and the shyness is rarely found. Even within this ISKCON, there is no shyness. So actually we have to somehow or the other, all the mothers should cultivate shyness, and that will be actually very beneficial to everyone in the society. And we can see that how the queens got up right away as the Krishna comes to their palace. They didn't wanted to waste even 1 second, and they respected him with shyness, smiling of affection and shyness. So I will like to end here, and we can discuss if there is any comment, questions. So thank you very much for joining today. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vishnu Kada Prabhu. Please.
Krishna Kaivalya, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
A couple of things. One is, so the queens, they were so happy to see Lord Krishna coming back to Dwarka, and so they embraced him in various ways, but not directly. Was it because it was a public it was in public that they didn't address it, didn't embrace him directly, or was it just in general, it's not to be done? And the next question is, you mentioned that they didn't look at him directly, but only out of the corner of their eyes. Did you get that from one of the commentaries of the, like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur or some other place? I just was curious about that. Those two questions.
I was reading the book of Bhurijan Prabhu, and it is written there that they were looking from the side glance.
Does he quote where he got that from?
I think Sridhar Swami.
Okay. So it's.
So the other thing, how they were in the palace, so I don't think they were in public, because Krishna went to his palace. So they were inside their palace, but still, I guess that that embracing the husband directly is not appropriate at that time, probably. So
You mean in that time? You mean at that time of the day, or what do you
mean? Something like that.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, but still the palace, even though the palace still there'll be people around, so that's still
there will be people around, that like servants and all those things, they may be there.
So I'm just wondering if that's the reason, or there's some other reason, because we know that in Krishna's daily activities, when Lord Krishna was with the queens, in their bedroom, the queens would be unhappy when the rooster crowed in the morning, because they were embracing Lord Krishna, and he got up to do his spiritual activities at the Brahma Muhurta hour.
Mm-hmm. So probably because of other people maybe around, because Krishna just came, so everybody was eager to see him, maybe all the servants, and all the workers in the house also.
Okay, yeah, because we know, like, when Lord Shiva was on Kailash mountain, and Parvati was sitting on his lap in the midst of all kinds of saintly persons. It was Chitraketu saw that he was coming over in an airplane. He thought, look at this. They're embracing in this public situation, and he criticized. Mother Parvati didn't like that, so she cursed him. You remember that?
Yes, but Lord Shiva and King Chitraketu, they were like friendly behavior, among them. That's what he was telling, but Mother Parvati didn't know that, so she got offended that way, and she tried to protect Lord Shiva. That why he's laughing like that, why Shiva was acting like that, so that was, he cursed him. But anyway,
so it's not that the embracing is against the rules, but it's just in the public sector, just like it used to be in Indian and Bollywood movies. I think up through the 70s, they didn't show kissing on. Remember this?
Yes.
And then at a certain point, it went over the, so they started doing that, and it was a kind of a big, it was a little scandalous at some point back in the 80s. I think you might remember that. Could you have any remembrance of that?
Oh yes, definitely. I remember. Before I joined ISKCON, and I was watching movies. Even after joining ISKCON, I watched few movies, which were sober movies, not bad movies, But if I hear this movie is good, give some education, I will watch that. But yeah, before, they were not embracing in the public. They were just showing scene very differently, Like birds, they will show the birds, they were kissing the birds, were like putting their beaks, with each other, not like showing the kissing, that way. So that was different thing. But Lord Shiva was doing, but he was with control. Krishna is actually biggest brahmachari also, So we cannot say that having so many wives and not embracing, but that time may be different. Lord Shiva's time may be different. I do not know what. This was in Dwapar Yuga, actually, when Krishna was end of Dwapar Yuga 1, and when the Chitraketu Maharaj's story, I do not know which Yuga was that. Treta Yuga, early part of Dwapar Yuga, I have no idea, but there may be different timings and different, because this was in which Krishna went to Dwarika, so there may be a different custom there, and In Kailash Parvat, there may be different custom. I do not know.
Thank you, Kaivalya Prabhu.
And I think also the time of the day is important, because they say that at twilight, a man and a woman should not come together, because the wrong kind of soul will be attracted into the womb.
That's for actual sexual intercourse, I understand. Is that?
Yeah, that's true. Anybody else have any other questions or comments? Thank you very much, Kaivalya Prabhu. Lots of important points again, as usual. Thank you for giving a lot of those explanations. So we'll meet again this evening at 5 o'clock for the Bhagavad Gita happy hour, and then tomorrow morning at 7:50 for the next verse of this chapter. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah.